Hi, thanks for stopping by. Today I'm going to be sharing my story and my journey with endometriosis with you all. As many of you know, I do have endometriosis. I have quite a few exercises and videos here of things that have helped me when I am going through some of my endometriosis pain, and I've shared some of my journey, but I thought I would give you specifics on my story in case you are going through some of the same thing, so you know that you aren't alone. So my story starts back in 2003, I believe, 2004. I woke up one night with abdominal pain on the right side, a lot, sharp pain. And it kept getting worse, I thought maybe appendicitis. I wasn't sure. Anyway, we ended up going to the ER. So my boyfriend, who's my husband now, had to drive me to the ER. I mean, I couldn't even get myself to the car. The pain was so bad. They did test after test, CAT scans, ultrasounds, and the best thing they could come up with was an ovarian cyst that might have burst. So I was sent home. No big deal. I had to follow up with my doctor. They did some more tests, made sure they ruled out appendicitis, and went on my way. 6 months later, I had the exact same pain, right side. I had to go back to the ER because it was so bad. Same tests, same thought, maybe an ovarian cyst that burst. But I was on birth control, so it didn't really make sense to my doctor why I was getting ovarian cysts. So for the next year and a half, I went through more of that right-sided pain. I had a colonoscopy because they thought maybe something was going on down there. I was having stomach symptoms, and I had been having a lot of low back pain for years prior to this, for about 5 years. I had had an MRI of my back that didn't show anything. I had had physical therapy from a colleague who said, I don't think there's anything here, but the back pain wasn't getting better. So up until that point, my symptoms had been a lot of lower back pain, more so on the right, these ovarian cysts possibly that were bursting, but a lot of right-sided sharp pain, and then a lot of stomach stuff that was going on. Those were my symptoms. And then finally, my PCP actually in 2005, this was like 18 months after I had been going through these unknown symptoms, she said, you know what, I think you might have endometriosis. And I had never heard of that before. So I went home and Googled it, and I was almost in tears because I knew that's what I had. I just reading through it intuitively, I said, I think this is it. The thing with endometriosis is it can only be diagnosed with surgery. There's no test that shows it. And so I talked to my OBGYN who said, yep, let's go in and do the surgery. So that was in 2005. And I remember waking up and she said, you do have endometriosis. And it's something that you're just going to have to manage. We cut out and removed what we could. I had quite a bit of scar tissue around my appendix actually, and into my right inner thigh area, which would explain why I was getting pain in there. And she said, we did what we could, but it's something you have to manage. It will never completely go away. So for those of you who don't know what endometriosis is, I should probably clarify. It is when your endometrial tissue, which is the tissue inside your uterus, it's when it grows outside of your uterus, and it can grow anywhere. I mean, MRIs have shown it in brain tissue sometimes, but most commonly it's in the abdominal cavity, but it's outside of the uterus. So then when a woman has her period and menstruates every month, that tissue bleeds, and normally it's just bleeding in the uterus and it comes out as our period. But when that tissue is not in the uterus, but maybe on the intestines, in the abdominal cavity, it still bleeds every month, but it doesn't have anywhere to go. And so it can cause a lot of pain and a lot of inflammation, and then it can cause scar tissue, and that happens every month. It'll bleed and become more scar tissue, bleed, become more scar tissue, and cause a lot of pain. That's endometriosis. They don't really know why it happens, unfortunately. There's a few theories out there, but it's really kind of unknown. So, go back to my story. I was told I would have to manage it, and that's what I did. I knew it could be very hard to have kids, and I wanted more than anything to be able to have children. So I made it my goal to manage my symptoms, manage my pain, and try to keep it from getting worse. So for me, this is just personally, what it looked like for me was regular exercise, especially Pilates, obviously, and yoga really helped a lot. So anything to keep me open and stretching out that scar tissue, especially in my hips. So controlling my movement, so regular exercise, eating anti-inflammatory. So for me as well, I went through kind of an anti-allergy diet. I tried to cut out candida. I did a lot of things, and for me, I came down to gluten isn't great for my condition. It definitely will cause my symptoms to get worse. Excess sugar definitely causes my symptoms to get worse. So I am fairly gluten-free now. I'd say about 80% gluten-free. I don't have to do complete gluten-free, but as long as I manage those, I do better. And then vitamins. And I can put the link below to the vitamins I use that work for me, but staying regular with my vitamins. So it's kind of a three-pronged attack is what I did. And I also went off birth control, and I think it's important to tell you, and for those of you going through endometriosis to know, many doctors recommend birth control pills as a way to regulate your symptoms and to actually help you feel better. I personally knew, like I said, that I wanted to have kids, and I was kind of over being on birth control and all kinds of hormones. I just wanted to start from a blank slate and see what was even going on with me. So I personally took myself off birth control. So that was back in like 2005. And so I felt much better after surgery. I should say that too. My back pain was almost eliminated, and I didn't have any more of those ER trips. I did have some more kind of occurrences of that right-sided pain, but I knew more what it was and how to deal with it and how to manage it. It wasn't so bad. It sent me to the ER. So surgery for me did help quite a bit, and then I think just learning what I had and how to manage it helped a lot. So fast forward 2012, we decided to try to conceive. And it really was miraculous. We were able to conceive and get pregnant within 5 months, and trying naturally. We didn't have to use any help at all. Doctors were really amazed. I was 35 years old, so I was also older. So we were really, really blessed in that. And our daughter came healthy, happy, everything was good. And then we started trying to conceive again when our daughter was 1, and it didn't happen. And it didn't happen, and it didn't happen, and we went through every test under the sun. They all came out fine, so there was no real reason. It was considered secondary infertility. But in this time, I started having pain again. I started having that right-sided low back pain. I was having cramps probably 23 days out of the month. It was just ridiculous. So I kind of thought maybe the endometriosis was back. So we decided to do another surgery. They do a laparoscopy is what it's called. So my doctor at the time, I had moved, so I had a new doctor. He said, let's go in and just see what's going on. And I woke up, came home to recover, hadn't talked to my doctor yet. So 2 weeks later, I went in for my post-op appointment, and I walked in, and he said, I can't believe what you look like on the outside for what I found on the inside. I am now at stage 4 endometriosis is what they call it, and diagnosed with a frozen pelvis. Again, I put that in quotes. That's what they call a frozen pelvis when there's so much scar tissue in there. It's stage 4, and so it's called a frozen pelvis. I don't feel that. I think it's kind of a silly name. I don't feel like I have a frozen pelvis. It moves. I still do all my exercises. That's just what they call it. So my uterus was attached to my abdominal wall. My fallopian tubes were scarred down, and there was a lot of scarring and adhesions, what they call them, adhesions in my intestines. So they cut what they could, but basically it's going to most likely come back. And again, I'm at stage 4. So I went home in tears, feeling kind of, to be honest, like a failure. I mean, I'm in the health and fitness industry. I've talked to hundreds of women about endometriosis. I thought I had mine under control. I was so proud of myself. And then here I was. But I think one of the lessons in that is that it matters more how you feel as opposed to some label you get because of what they find on a test. So yes, I have stage 4 endometriosis. It's gotten much worse. They don't know why. But I didn't feel that way physically. It wasn't limiting me. Yes, I was having pain and cramps, and that was no fun, but I was still doing my workouts and doing what I wanted to do, and I had this beautiful daughter. So really important lesson is do not let labels determine who you are or how you feel or limit you. You need to listen to what is happening actually to you. Listen to your body, talk to your doctor, and then determine what your plan is. So that was a really big lesson for me. It definitely made me question a lot of things, but I had to come back to that label doesn't matter so much as where I am in my life and how I feel. So we were told, because of the fallopian tube scarring, that IVF was our only shot, most likely, to having another baby. So that's probably a vlog for another time, but we did end up going through IVF. We went through 2 rounds, and again, had another miracle happen, and we got pregnant, and now we have a beautiful baby boy who's 4 months old. And the endo, I'm sure, is still there. This surgery I had was in August of 2016, I believe, yes. And I don't know where I'm going to go from here. I am still nursing, so one thing I will say is I know that my symptoms really won't come out and tell me how I feel until I'm done nursing. So I am just taking care of myself as best I can. Again, I'm not going to let a label determine where I go from here. I'm going to let my body tell me. But right now I'm just doing my exercise, getting back to I'm still in a postpartum phase, so I'm getting back to exercise slowly and safely. I am realizing I definitely need to work on my diet and get that under control again, because I think I let some sugar creep in while I was pregnant. So I'll work on that again to make sure I'm not putting myself into a flare with my symptoms. And then we'll go from there, and I'll just see, and I'll talk to my doctors, and mostly, like I said, just listen to my body. If I feel good, then I'm not going to worry about it, because there's nothing I can do necessarily about what's going on inside. All I can do is what I put into my body and the exercise I do, and keeping a really positive outlook. I think that's really important with endometriosis. If you're going through it, I understand the confusion. I understand the fact that people don't really know exactly where to send you or what to do. On average, statistics show it takes 7 years for a woman to get a correct diagnosis with endometriosis. So it's a long time, and you can feel a little crazy in that time. So I understand all that. So I am just focusing on the positive. And then, like I said, in a few years, if something changes with my symptoms, if I feel like I need to go another path, I definitely will. But right now I feel okay with where I am. So my biggest message to anyone who's going through some of the same thing is simply to keep your hope and keep your identity and keep your strength, because it can be a very disempowering diagnosis. And when you read things online, you can feel like a lost cause. So please know that there's hope, and please keep your positivity and your optimistic outlook, and find someone who understands what you're going through, and find a good doctor to be an advocate for you. So for me, that was an OB, but also a reproductive endocrinologist helped me a lot, and those two working together, and us just finding a path, and try different things, and that is my recommendation. So that's my story. It's definitely one of hope, like I said, and I hope that helps you know that you're not alone. And feel free to go to my website, jessicavalantpilates.com. I have quite a few articles and resources that I've written about my journey and about what has helped me and about my story, so feel free to go there, and I wish you the very best. I'll talk to you soon.